I just found out my wife of 10 years secretly stole $250, $0 from our joint account to fund her affair with my best friend. And now she's trying to take everything in the divorce, including the house worth $800, $0, while claiming I'm the manipulative one. I never thought I'd be the guy sitting here, writing about how my wife of 10 years turned out to be a complete nightmare. The most shocking part. It all came crashing down in a matter of days, and the thing is, I had no idea how deep her lies went until I stumbled on the truth in the worst way possible. One minute, we're a normal couple, arguing about bills like everyone else, and the next, I find out she's been secretly siphoning off hundreds of thousands of dollars to fund her affair with my best friend. Yeah, you read that right. My wife, Emily, not only cheated on me but also stole $250,000 from our joint account to keep her side piece happy. And what's worse, she's now trying to take everything, our house, our savings, everything, while spinning this web of lies that I'm the manipulative one. It all started when I noticed some odd transactions on our bank account. Emily had been acting weird for a few months, avoiding my gaze, being overly defensive when I asked about money, and suddenly dressing up more than usual, even when we stayed home. I thought she was just stressed about work or maybe hitting a midlife crisis. I didn't think much of it at first, but then I saw the bank statements. Hundreds of thousands of dollars gone, unaccounted for. I thought it was a mistake, so I called the bank. The lady on the line told me the account had been drained over the past year, with transfers to some private account I'd never seen before. That's when I started digging deeper. I pulled up online banking and what I saw made my stomach drop. The transfers weren't just random payments. They were large sums, mostly around $10, $0 to $15, $0, sent to an account under Emily's name. I cross-checked the account holder's details. Turns out it was her. I couldn't believe it. I was so stunned I couldn't speak for a minute. I thought maybe it was some kind of mistake, but then I remembered the little things, her secretive phone calls, her quick trips out of town, the way she'd suddenly become obsessed with her appearance again. And I remembered the late nights she'd spend on her laptop, locking the screen when I came close. I didn't confront her right away. Instead, I waited, gathering evidence. I wanted to catch her in the act if I could. I knew she'd lie her way out of it, so I set up a few hidden cameras around the house. I wanted to see what she was doing when she thought no one was watching. Sure enough, a few nights later, I caught her in the act. She was on the phone with someone, whispering in a way that made my skin crawl. I could hear her saying, "It's all taken care of. The money in the account now, and he still doesn't suspect a thing." That's when I lost it. I couldn't believe my wife, the woman I loved and trusted, was lying to my face about everything. When I finally confronted her, I thought I was prepared. I was wrong. I thought I'd be angry, maybe even furious. Instead, I was just numb. She sat there trying to play innocent, saying, "Oh, come on, David, you're overreacting. I was just helping my sister with some expenses. You're so paranoid." She looked at me with that fake smile, the one she's perfected over the years, but I didn't buy it, not anymore. I told her I knew everything. Her face flickered for a moment, shock, guilt. I couldn't tell. She spun some story about how she needed money for her emotional health, claiming it was just a few thousand here and there, nothing big. But I had the proof. The bank statements, the transfers, the messages, it was all there. That moment hit me hard. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. The woman I'd shared a life with, the one I thought was my partner, had been betraying me for over a year. The betrayal wasn't just emotional, it was financial, a complete violation of everything we built. I felt a mixture of rage, sadness, and confusion. How could she do this? How could she lie so effortlessly? And why my best friend? I thought they were just friends, maybe colleagues. But no, it was so much more twisted. She'd been sleeping with Mark, my best friend, for over a year. And all this time I was just the fool, working hard and trusting her. I still remember the sinking feeling I had that night. Sitting alone in the dark, looking at the bank statements, realizing I'd been robbed. Not just of money, but of my trust, my marriage, everything I believed in. I wanted to break something, scream at her, do something to make her understand how much she'd hurt me. But instead, I just sat there trying to process the fact that my wife, the woman I loved, had been lying to my face every day. It was the kind of betrayal that changes a man forever. And that's when I started thinking about revenge, how to make her pay for everything she's done. Because I wasn't going to let her walk away with my house, my life savings, and my dignity. Not without a fight. After I confronted Emily that night, everything changed in an instant. Her face twisted into this exaggerated expression of innocence, like she was trying to convince herself she hadn't just been caught red-handed. She kept insisting she was just stressed, that the money was for some vague, emotional health reason and that I was overreacting because I'm so manipulative. That's her favorite line, try to turn the tables, make me seem like the crazy one, but I wasn't buying any of it anymore. I had the evidence, the receipts, the messages. She was caught, plain and simple. Her reaction, though, was infuriating. She started crying, throwing herself on the bed, claiming she did it for us, that she thought it was for a good cause, and that I was just jealous of her success and independence. Yeah, right. Because stealing $250,000 from your own husband to fund an affair with your best friend is just some misguided act of love. I looked at her, this woman I'd spent 10 years with, and I realized I didn't even recognize her anymore. She was this stranger, willing to destroy everything we built for her own selfish needs. The next few days were a whirlwind. I couldn't focus on anything else, replaying everything in my head. Her lies, the secret bank accounts, the nights she'd sneak out, the way she'd look at Mark with this sick, possessive glint in her eye. I started checking her phone, her emails, anything I could get my hands on. I needed to understand how deep this betrayal went. And what I found was worse than I expected. There were secret texts, plans for trips she'd never told me about, even explicit messages with Mark about how much they needed to keep it secret, and how they wanted to run away together someday. It was a full-blown affair, and she was planning her escape while pretending to be the perfect wife. I also discovered she'd been draining our joint account, our savings, our emergency fund, everything, so she could live her double life without financial worries. Over $250, $0 gone. That's more than most people make in a decade. I couldn't believe she'd do this to me, to us. All those nights I stayed up worrying about bills, about her stress, and she was out spending our money on her lover and her own selfish pleasures. It was like I was living with a stranger, a con artist who'd been lying to my face for over a year. I knew I had to act fast. I called a lawyer and we started preparing for divorce. But I also wanted to get revenge, big time. I wasn't just going to let her walk away with everything, especially not after what she'd done. I wanted her to feel the pain of betrayal the way I did. I needed her to understand that there are consequences for crossing lines like this. So I started planning my move, not just legally but personally. I wanted her to regret every single lie, every secret, every moment she thought she'd get away with it. In the meantime, Emily was still trying to spin her stories. She kept claiming I was controlling, manipulative, that I'd always been jealous of her independence. She insisted she was the victim, that I was just too insecure to handle her success. I couldn't believe how she was trying to rewrite history, how she was turning herself into the innocent party. It made me sick. I saw right through her. She thought she could manipulate her way out of this, but I'd already seen too much. I knew she was a liar, and I knew she'd do whatever it took to keep the house, the money, and her new life with Mark. So I decided I'd fight for everything. The house, the savings, everything. She didn't deserve a dime of what we built, not after stealing from me, lying to my face, and cheating on me with my best friend. I was done being the victim. From now on, I was going to be the one in control. I was going to make her regret ever crossing me. But the thing is, I also felt this strange mix of anger and sadness, because deep down I still loved her, even after all this. That's what hurt the most. The betrayal cut so deep that I wondered if I'd ever be able to trust anyone again. But I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going to let her get away with it without paying a price. And that's exactly what I was going to do. After I started putting my plan into motion, everything moved faster than I expected. I hired a lawyer who specialized in financial crimes and marital disputes, and from there, It was a matter of gathering all the evidence I had, bank statements, text messages, emails, everything that proved Emily's betrayal and theft. The more I dug, the clearer it became that she wasn't just sneaking around. She was actively trying to wipe her tracks. She'd opened secret accounts, made fake transactions, and even tried to convince her family that I was the one abusing her and controlling her. That was her fallback, playing the victim, spinning lies to anyone willing to listen. Meanwhile, Emily's attitude started to shift. She became more aggressive, more bitchy, trying to gaslight me into doubting myself. She'd say things like, "You're just paranoid," or "You're overreacting because you're insecure." The more she lied, the more I saw her for what she really was, a manipulative, selfish woman who was willing to destroy everything for her own happiness. She claimed she loved me, but her actions told a different story. The house, the money, my trust, all of it was just collateral damage in her game of betrayal. The day I served her with the divorce papers, she threw a fit, screaming, crying, calling me the manipulative one, saying I was trying to ruin her life. She insisted she'd done nothing wrong and that I was just jealous of her success. I looked at her with a mix of anger and disgust. She was so good at spinning her stories, but I knew better. I had the proof, and I was ready to fight for what was mine. I told her she could try to lie her way out of it, but the truth was on my side. She looked at me with those cold, bitchy eyes and said, "You'll never take my house. I'll make sure I get everything, your money, the house, everything, if I have to burn this whole damn thing down." That's when I realized she was serious. She was willing to do whatever it took to keep her new life, even if it meant destroying ours. I wasn't going to let that happen. I had my lawyer draw up a detailed settlement proposal, showing how much she'd stolen, how much she'd lied, and what she was entitled to if we went to court. I also started secretly recording conversations, her threatening me, her admitting to her affair with Mark, and her trying to manipulate the situation. I wanted everything documented because I knew she'd try to spin her own version of events once the legal battle started. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. Not just at her, but at myself for not seeing her true nature sooner. I kept asking myself, how did I not notice? How did I let her get away with all this for so long? I'd always thought I was a good judge of character, but Emily had played me like a fiddle. I was naive, trusting her blindly, thinking she was my partner, my best friend's wife, someone I could count on. And now she was trying to take everything I had left, my house, my savings, my dignity. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach every time I thought about it. The night before the court hearing, I sat alone in our house, staring at the empty walls. Every picture, every piece of furniture felt like a reminder of what I'd lost. I wondered if she'd ever feel remorse, if she'd ever realize how much she'd hurt me. But deep down, I knew she probably wouldn't. She was too busy spinning her lies, scheming her next move. That's when I made a decision. I wasn't going to be the victim anymore. I was going to fight for everything I deserved, and I was going to make her regret she ever crossed me. I was done being the fool. From now on, I'd be the one in control, and I'd make sure she paid for every lie, every betrayal, every dollar she stole. The upcoming court date was just the beginning. I had a long road ahead, but I was prepared to see it through. Emily's bitchy attitude, her lies, her manipulations, they all fueled my determination. She thought she could walk all over me, but she was wrong. I was done playing nice. Now I was playing to win, and I was damned if I'd let her take everything without a fight. The day of the court hearing felt like standing on the edge of a cliff, knowing I was about to jump into a storm I couldn't fully control. Emily showed up looking like she just stepped out of a magazine, perfect hair, flawless makeup, that bitchy little smirk that she always used when she thought she had the upper hand. She tried to act innocent, claiming I was trying to destroy her, that all I cared about was revenge and control. I just sat there, calm but furious inside, watching her spin her lies, knowing I had the evidence to back me up. The courtroom was tense. My lawyer laid out everything, the bank statements, the texts, the recorded conversations. We showed how Emily had drained our joint account, how she'd lied about her affair and her intentions to take the house. The judge listened carefully, asking questions, looking at the evidence. Emily kept insisting she deserved everything because she was the victim, that I'd manipulated her, that she was simply trying to start a new life. But her words rang hollow. I could see the look in her eyes. She knew she was caught, that her carefully crafted lies weren't going to hold up. As the hearing went on, I felt this strange mix of relief and rage. Relief because I finally had the proof, and rage because she'd tried to destroy me, my home, my life. I looked over at her and thought, "You bitch, you really thought you could get away with this?" My lawyer made a strong case for the division of assets, revealing how she'd stolen from us and how her affair had compounded the betrayal. The judge seemed to agree, and I could see the wheels turning in her mind. She realized she was losing. That's when she snapped, trying to accuse me of controlling behavior, of gaslighting, but her words fell flat against the mountain of evidence. After hours of testimony, the judge made a ruling. She ordered Emily to pay restitution for the stolen money, to give up any claim to the house, and to settle the divorce fairly. I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. I had won the legal battle, but I knew the emotional war wasn't over. Emily's face twisted in anger and frustration as she left the courtroom, muttering about how she'd fight this all the way, trying to spin her version of the story. But I knew the truth was out, and I wasn't going to let her manipulate her way out of it again. The aftermath was a whirlwind. Emily started her campaign of lies, trying to paint herself as the victim, claiming I was abusive, that I'd controlled her every move, even though I'd never raised my voice or laid a hand on her. She went to her family, her friends, trying to turn everyone against me, insisting I'd been the problem all along. Meanwhile, I was left to pick up the pieces. I moved out of the house, into a small apartment, started rebuilding my life from scratch. I cut ties with her family who believed her lies, and I focused on my own healing. But the most surprising thing was how her behavior changed once she lost her grip on the house and the money. She became even more bitchy, snapping at everyone, throwing tantrums, trying to control every situation. She'd call me late at night, screaming and crying, accusing me of ruining her life, even though I'd only done what was necessary to protect what was mine. Her attempts to manipulate the narrative failed, and I started to see her for who she was. A selfish woman who thought she could get away with everything because she was pretty, manipulative, and used to always getting her way. Looking back now, I realized that the betrayal was a wake-up call. It showed me how dangerous it is to trust blindly, how people can hide their true colors behind a pretty face or a fake smile. I learned that revenge isn't just about getting even. It's about standing up for yourself, protecting what's yours, and not letting anyone, no matter how close, destroy you without consequences. Emily thought she could walk all over me, that her tears and lies would win her everything, but I proved her wrong. And honestly, I feel a strange sense of relief now, knowing I fought for my dignity and came out on top. I don't regret standing my ground, even if it hurt like hell at the time. If anything, I wish I'd seen her true nature sooner. But I also know I'm stronger now, more cautious. And I want anyone reading this to learn from my experience. Trust is fragile, and some people will do anything to take what they want, even if it means destroying everything in their path. Never let anyone cheat you out of your life, your money, or your peace of mind. Because in the end, the truth always comes out, and justice might take a while, but it's worth fighting for. The months that followed were a brutal mix of relief and regret. I finally had my life back, but the scars from everything Emily did ran deep. The house was sold in the end. She fought tooth and nail to keep it, but the court ordered her to give up her claim after the evidence proved her theft and her affair. I moved into a modest apartment, started over from scratch, and tried to piece my shattered trust back together. But honestly, I felt like I'd been through a war, and the emotional wounds weren't so easy to heal. What really stuck with me was how Emily's personality shifted once she realized she couldn't manipulate her way out of the situation anymore. She became more bitter, more aggressive. Every conversation was a battle. She'd lash out at me, accuse me of ruining her life, and try to twist the truth. It was like she was trying to get me to feel guilty for exposing her. She'd scream on the phone, call me a manipulative bastard, and even threaten to ruin my reputation further. But I learned to ignore her. Honestly, her words no longer carried any weight. I'd seen her true face, and there was no going back. One thing that surprised me was how her family reacted. At first, they believed her sob stories, that I was controlling, that she was the victim. I guess they didn't want to see the truth. But after the court ruling and all the evidence came out, some started to see her for what she really was: greedy, manipulative, and dishonest. Others still cling to her lies, but I stopped caring. I knew who she was now, and I wasn't going to let her drag me down anymore. Meanwhile, I discovered the full extent of her lies. She'd been planning to take everything: our savings, the house, even our future, so she could run away with Mark. That betrayal cut even deeper because Mark was supposed to be my best friend. I found messages where they talked about starting fresh, about building a new life together, all behind my back. It was like I'd lost not only my wife but my closest friend too. That realization was brutal, but it also made me more determined to rebuild my life without her. I started therapy to deal with the emotional fallout. It was hard, trusting anyone again, feeling safe in my own skin. But slowly, I reclaimed my confidence. I learned to set boundaries, to recognize the red flags I'd missed before. I also realized how important it was to keep control of my own finances and not let anyone manipulate me again. Emily's betrayal was a wake-up call, but it also made me stronger. Looking back, I see this whole experience as a brutal lesson in trust and resilience. I've become more cautious, more aware of how some people can hide their true intentions behind a pretty face or a charming smile. I don't blame myself for trusting her. I blame her for being a liar and a thief. What I learned is that revenge isn't just about getting back at someone. Sometimes, it's about reclaiming your life, your dignity, and your peace of mind. I fought hard to come out of this situation with my head held high, and I don't regret standing my ground. Now I focus on building a new future, one where I don't let anyone take advantage of me again. I want others to know that if you're dealing with someone like Emily, don't hesitate to stand up for yourself. Be vigilant, be strong, and don't let betrayal define you. Because in the end, the truth will come out and you'll find your way back to happiness, one way or another. I'm still healing, but I know I'll be okay. Trust is fragile, but resilience is stronger. And I'll never let anyone cheat me out of my peace of mind again. Looking back, now I realize how much this whole ordeal has changed me. I used to think trust was the foundation of any relationship. Turns out, trust is something you earn over time, and sometimes it's shattered in an instant. Emily's betrayal was like a punch to the gut, one that knocked me down but didn't keep me there. I had to fight to get back up, to reclaim what was mine, and to learn the hard way that not everyone is who they seem to be. The biggest lesson I learned is that revenge isn't just about paying someone back. It's about taking control of your own life after someone tries to destroy it. I could have stayed bitter, let her lies consume me, or I could have crumbled under the weight of everything. But I chose the hard path, fighting for what's right, standing my ground, and refusing to let her manipulate me again. That decision gave me a sense of closure I didn't think was possible after such a deep betrayal. I realized I don't need someone who lies, steals, and cheats to be happy. I just need myself, and that's enough. Now I focus on rebuilding my life piece by piece. I've learned to be more cautious, more aware, and more willing to trust myself first. I don't look at relationships the same way anymore. I know that some people will do anything to get what they want, even if it means hurting others in the process. That's why I keep my guard up, and I advise anyone reading this: don't ignore the red flags. If something feels off, pay attention. Your gut is usually right. As for Emily, I hope she gets what she deserves, whatever that may be. I've moved on not because I'm bitter, but because I refuse to let her define my future. I've learned that the most powerful revenge is living well without her. And I am doing just that. I've started over, found new purpose, and finally feel like I can breathe again without that weight of betrayal hanging over me. To anyone who's going through something similar, I want you to know, you're not alone. It hurts like hell in the beginning, and it's okay to feel angry, sad, or even hopeless. But don't let those feelings consume you. Stand up for yourself, fight for what's right, and remember that your worth isn't determined by someone else's. lies or betrayal. You have the strength to rebuild, to move forward, and to find happiness again, better and stronger than before. This experience has taught me that even in the darkest moments, there's a way out. You just have to be willing to fight for it. And trust me, once you do, the pain starts to fade, and you realize that your future is still yours to shape. No matter how bad it gets, there's always a way to heal, even if it takes time. I've learned that the hard way, and I hope anyone reading this finds the courage to do the same.